How do you think about product-led growth with ETHGas?
It's just start with the best user experience. So like, let's remove gas fees. How do you do it? Boom, on Ethereum. You hit a button, like swap or trade or transfer, boom, it's just done.
Your thoughts around how you're trying to build a sustainable company and ecosystem with ETHGas?
We're always able to provide a better experience. You would never want to get a worse experience. And so we become like an essential part of the fabric for every blockchain.
Kevin Lepsoe, the founder and CEO of ETHGas, a marketplace for Ethereum block space commitments, aiming to transform how users interact with Ethereum by enabling low latency, 3-millisecond settlement times, and real-time trading, alongside tools for fast and precise order execution.
Tell me more about what ETHGas is going to do here for the community.
The big picture for everyone really is, can we make blockchains feel like a Web 2 experience?
Thank you, everyone. Dubai Token 2049 this week, and we're coming back with Kevin from ETHGas. It is another series in the podcast, and we're going to be talking about the ecosystem that he's been building and learning more about his founder journey before and during Web3 too. So nice to meet you.
Fantastic. Thank you for having me here, Ruthie.
No, very good. I'd love to give you a moment to introduce yourself to the audience. I mean, I think this is going to be the first time for a lot of our viewers that are listening to have met you and have met and encountered ETHGas as well. So,
sure. So maybe I'll start, I guess, just kind of background and maybe how I kind of led into it here. Yeah. But you know, I started off in TradFi. I was an FX option trader, a volatility trader, interest rate options. Then I got into like credit and correlation and all that kind of funky stuff in banking.
Yeah.
And you know, this is kind of pre GFC 2008 and then post GFC. And you know, my team, they're just a bunch of like math quants, and I came from like a logistics and music type of background.
Okay.
So I was like kind of deep in this space. But following GFC and the crisis, I just thought like, I need to get away from finance, like as far as I could. So yeah, I left, I got into just like tech. My wife and I, we built a tech company. It's like an enterprise cloud company. And being in Hong Kong, where we're based, through that time, you know, there's a lot of folks who had this like hangover from the financial crisis, and they're like, I need to do something else. So at that time, there's a whole bunch of guys just exploring other random things. And so around, you know, 2012, 13, 14, they're getting into crypto invariably, right? So we kind of tinker around with mining and this and that. There's a whole bunch of like early meetups. And, but again, I was like, I can't touch finance. I'm done. But of course, it just keeps coming back, right? And so nonetheless, my wife and I are off running our tech company. Our friends are off doing crypto. And, you know, eventually DeFi summer comes along and it's like, well, hey, there's some foundation in this place now, right? It's not just like, it's not just like a single token. Like you have smart contracts, programmability, and the ability to create like from a product perspective, like the real financial markets again, but on much cleaner, more efficient, more transparent rails. At that point, I was like, okay, let's get into this space. And so I had a number of ideas, and well, ETHGas was one of the top ones. I was like, well, let's do this. This is a chance to kind of change the very fabric of blockchains.
And you've been building ETHGas for some time now. What year did it come from inception to now?
Yeah, well, the idea came about maybe like 6 years ago, kind of give or take. And it was really just a couple of years ago that we dove into it.
Yeah.
And so the background was that in this transition from like a proof of work world to a proof of stake world, you have these validators across, you know, like the various proof of stake chains. And the idea is that these validators are just kind of like dumb validators. They're just running infrastructure, and they're just kind of like setting up some client or some technology and just letting it run. And that works, right? But you think about like, what if we give these validators agency and control, right? Like what if we actually treat them as like kind of people and let them kind of do what they want? And in that framework, then you realize that actually, well, validators, there's a lot more that they could do to express their own kind of beliefs within the system. And so that was kind of the overriding theme. Let's kind of give the validators more like choice and more freedom. And so working kind of, you know, forward from that, what we realized is that, well, proof of stake, or let's say Ethereum specifically, the experience could be far better, right? And so you have, for one, a 12-second block time, right? And you have like a number of different types of users. You have like retail, you have like L2s rolling up to L1, you have like oracles, and there's so many different types of users. But that fabric of gas is quite vanilla. It's quite simple. And so how can you have this single gas instrument for such a diverse set of players? And that was kind of the starting point. So we realized, well, what if we could create maybe like different types of gas for each type of user? And so maybe there's a user who wants like an instant experience on Ethereum, right? So I just want to put a trade through and get an instant confirmation. And so we can do that now, right? So we can provide a real-time experience on Ethereum. You hit a button, like swap or trade or transfer, boom, it's just done. So that's one thing. And then the more sophisticated institutional traders, maybe they want to get these top of block precision execution. We can do that as well. And so you realize that in between the users of the blockchain and the validators, if we can create a better experience for the users and something that they're willing to pay more for, again, like it's faster, more precision, whatever it might be, they're going to pay more. That money's going to flow through this pipeline. The validators are going to earn more. And net, it's a strong addition to the network, right? Because both sides are happy. The users there's more demand for that blockchain, better user experience. The validators are happy, they're earning more. And voila, we've kind of like, we've re-engineered the fabric that powers the blockchain.
Yeah. I think the real-time messaging is one I want to touch on as well.
Yeah.
A lot of users, a lot of participants in this space on the retail side have had many struggles in the past, whether it be in trying to transact and just simply send crypto between one wallet to another in exchange during a gas war.
Yes, for sure.
Or being frustrated by having to send multiple transactions on Ethereum and having them queued up and execute one by one by one. And you mentioned that ETHGas is in a pursuit to make ETH real-time. I feel like a real-time blockchain, right? Could you break that down a bit more from a retail perspective?
Yeah, so there's the way it works. I'll start maybe on the back end, how it works, and then I'll talk about maybe the front end user experience. And so on the back end, the validator is technically building the block every 12 seconds. What we do is we step in front of them and we say, the validator has now delegated that block to us. So we can almost act on behalf of that validator. We have a low latency infrastructure. We can be kind of closer to users, broadly speaking. And so the users are effectively interacting with us. And they're buying actually like a slice of block space every time they trade. And so one of the difficulties is that the gas price might be like 2 gwei or whatever it is. But what is that tip or that premium I need to pay to like ensure that it's going to go in this block? And so there's just all this uncertainty around that experience. And so we're just like, this is the number. You can just get guaranteed right now. So it's 2 gwei plus 0.2 or whatever it might be. And then boom, you get an instant confirmation and you're in. So that's what's happening. We're able to price the block space in real time based on how much is remaining and kind of like how much demand there is. And so that's on the back end. And on the front end, it really depends on how do users interact with the chain, right? Is it like directly through smart contracts? Unlikely. Is it more like through your wallet? And that's where we're basically reaching out to the wallets and to the community where the wallets can integrate with us. Okay. And so again, when I transfer, it's just like I hit the button and done. Yeah. And so like that's a Web 2 experience, which we're looking to recreate in Web 3. Yeah. Right. And so that's the beauty of it.
Because not to complain about MetaMask, but often when I'm doing transactions on MetaMask, I hate the pending, the loading signs, for sure, and then the rejection.
Like is it going to go through or not? Yeah. And then I have to do it again, and the whole frustration around it. Yeah. It's like, imagine you're trying to buy a coffee and you don't pay enough electricity or gas just to get that coffee, and then
you wait 5 minutes and they tell you, hey,
you go to coffee order. Yeah, you go to Starbucks and you're like, well, yeah, I pay $5 plus like 10 cents, right? And then a few minutes later, they're like, oh, sorry, you need to tip a bit more.
Like that guy tipped 20 cents behind you.
Exactly, so. Right? So it's basically it, right? So let's just like streamline that experience.
Yeah. And you mentioned wallet integrations. Mm-hmm. So do you see that ETHGas's like main retail distribution is to, if I understand correctly, maybe MetaMask might use ETHGas on the back end to provide instant confirmation experience for the end user, right?
Correct. Yeah. Okay. So retail would generally be interfacing, like we're that one layer behind, kind of that first touch point for DeFi. So the wallets will be integrating with us. Yeah. And but if you're not retail, then you just be interacting directly with us through API.
Yeah. Would you have your own wallet?
I don't know. Okay. No immediate plans for it. Yeah. That's a different business model altogether. But arguably, if we could provide the best experience, then maybe. But
Yeah.
There's plenty of wallets out there. I'd rather find some good partners.
Yeah, I like that real-time blockchain experience, and I'm very excited to use that and to see how the market picks up on that as well. I think there's something else that's really interesting about ETHGas, which is going to be this rebates program that I've been seeing news about.
Yes.
You've been talking about it a lot, whether it be through the Medium articles or teased in the website.
Yeah.
But there is a plan that you have around rebates, partnerships with L2s, EVM,
A lot of people,
etc. Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me more about what ETHGas is going to do here for the community.
Yeah. So on that front, again, the big picture for everyone really is, can we make blockchains feel like a Web 2 experience, right? Yeah. And so one is the real-timeness, right? Hit the button and done, right? But two is that concept of gas, right? And so, taking that buying coffee or Starbucks example, if I'm paying $5 and is it 10 cents extra or 15 cents extra, like, why don't we just fix it at 10 cents, right? Whatever it might be. And so we're basically working with protocols to basically sponsor gas in the background. Mm-hmm. I mean, you'll have to pay for gas invariably, right? But it's like, instead of $5 plus some unknown amount, let's just say $5.10 all the time. And so basically the way it works is we'll go to a protocol and say, hey, your users have spent $1,000 in gas this month. That protocol would pay $1,000 to us, as well as many other protocols, might be like dozens of them. And then the users can come to our platform and basically claim that gas back. And so you can claim gas back from those dozen other protocols you interacted with. And this is basically across EVM, L1, L2s.
And that would be the difference between the real cost and that just standard price.
And like a variable unknown cost. Yeah. So the point is that, like, instead of putting the stress on the users to think about that variable price in gas and have to deal with it, we enable the protocol to kind of pool that. Yeah. And they can basically pool that gas price across all the users, as well as actually hedging that gas price risk itself with us. Yeah. And so from that perspective, in the near term, the users would still be paying for gas, but they don't need to think about, gas is high or gas is low. Now they can just trade. Meanwhile, in the background, the protocol will be thinking about, how do I hedge it? How do I manage it? And we'll be working with the protocols on that front. And then from that perspective, the economics of that full circle have been achieved. And then it's really just down the line technologically, how can we kind of abstract us from the equation? How can we then just sponsor it on the fly? Yeah. But currently sponsoring it on the fly is quite expensive. Yeah. So that's why this batching is more efficient.
Have other people attempted to make Ethereum feel like a real-time blockchain experience in the method that you guys are striving for before? And why do you think they have not been adopted? What makes you guys different?
Sure. So I not that I'm aware of. Yeah. Not that I'm aware of. The reason why this is happening now and we're leading this charge is really that when blocks are, it's getting a little into the technical part, but when blocks are built, you have these block builders, maybe like Flashbots or Beaver Build or Titan Build. And you've reached this point where there's kind of like two parties that kind of control Ethereum. And when you can control Ethereum, you can maybe extract money from the broader ecosystem. And so that's not good. And then at the same rate, the validators see this happening. And so the validators are just thinking like, well, I want more control. And how do I get more control? Because I'm ultimately powering the blockchain. And so in around that, it was like, well, what can we do? Like, what happens if we give validators more control? What is the technical process to make that happen? And as we kind of dig into that process, we realize, well, there's just so much more that we can do, right? It's just like the real world where you have electricity trading and oil trading. Once you do that, you can just, again, we don't need to think about electricity when we buy that coffee or buy that pizza. Like, you can just put it all in the background. And so it really just, it was this confluence of factors around just like, there's some centralization vectors around Ethereum. How can we give more control back to the blockchain itself? And alongside that, what else can we do along the fly?
And the third thing about ETHGas that we wanted to point out too was that ETHGas is going to have a big play within the MEV playground. Yeah. And there's a few people building solutions around, MEV protection, MEV optimization. But tell us about how ETHGas plays in this area.
Sure. Yeah. So there are a number of approaches, but we're building right at the fabric of the blockchain itself. And so in this arena, what you can do is you can basically take the entire state of the blockchain and decide, how are you going to structure products around people buying and selling this? Part of it can go either way. You could, when you do this, you can actually help searchers increase the amount of MEV, right? So you can actually like make it more accessible. But on the other side, what if like protocols could buy their own block space and they could sequence it themselves, right? And so you have these different kind of facets of this world where if you open it up and explore it a bit more, it provides this price discovery. So it's like, well, here's some block space. Who wants to sequence it and who wants to trade it? And they do searchers want to do that and extract more MEV? Or maybe there's someone else with a potentially more altruistic, motivation, and they can do that too. And so let's create a marketplace where the good and the bad can kind of fight. And we may have some influence over that, right? But like, let's just open this up to see like, what are the opportunities? What are the risks? How can we address them? Ultimately for the broader good of Ethereum and blockchains at large.
Whilst the rest of the users are still being protected, right? By that instant confirmation process that you have.
Exactly.
So ETHGas in essence also makes the blockchain experience more or less predatory.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, coming back to say like an NFT, man, right? Like there's only one, right? And so traditionally, if there's like a bunch of people competing for that one NFT, like how do you do that as a retail person, right? And so we're creating these abilities where it's like, well, we can all compete at the same time, but like this is the winning price. And it's not like you're gonna maybe miss it or maybe not. It's just like
grossly overspend.
It's just confirmed, right?
Yeah.
And so the ability, there's been a big gap between sophisticated players and retail.
Yeah.
And in that process, we're just providing transparency.
Yeah.
So how can we put the two sides on equal footing?
Yeah.
And how can we create that tooling and integrate with the wallets? So again, it's like a wallet with a real-time experience versus a trader who already has a pretty good experience, but now they're on equal footing.
Yeah. Do you guys find yourselves putting equal emphasis on building for the retail use cases and needs as well as like the institution user personas too? Or is there a certain user group that's more important?
It starts with the institutional part. And it's because there are just such heavy users.
Yeah. And
for us to reach them, it's almost like a direct connection.
Yeah.
I call or I message, like 20 people in some sense, right? On the retail part, there are wallets.
Yeah.
And like the wallets are like, well, what's the business case? Like how much money can I make in the near term? And then there's a bit more work or friction in that part of the process.
Yeah.
And so when we start with the institutional guys, it just gets the flywheel going.
Yeah.
And institutional guys, at least the ones we work with, they are pro crypto as opposed to pro like MEV extraction. And they want us to kind of set up the rails so that we can more easily integrate with wallets. And so thankfully, many of our investors are validators and wallets as well.
Yeah.
So we've aligned with, I think, the right partners.
Yeah. Tell me a bit about the traction that you guys have had in the past on the institution side.
Sure. So many of the validators across Ethereum are our investors, as well as some of the hardcore buyers of block space. And so we have kind of both sides of the market supporting this vision for real time and like less MEV, as well as like a gasless future as well. So we have kind of that community around us. I'm thinking there's like a couple of wallets involved in what we're doing as well. I can't really say names yet, but we'll be announcing stuff in due time. But broadly speaking, it's really these like kind of infrastructure like players who are saying like, yes, we want this user experience. We want that Web2 like experience. We don't know exactly how it's going to pan out, but like it seems like you guys have a really novel solution around that.
Yeah. With ETHGas, what would be your true North Star metrics that you guys are striving for, especially over the next year as you go to market with your product stack?
Yeah, good question. What % of all blocks are like real-time blocks?
Okay.
Yeah, so on day one, not all the blocks are going to have this real-time functionality, and so like what % of them are we getting to? And by the end of the year, can we get to 20, 30, 50% or more? That's probably one metric. And then another might be like on the gas side of the equation, like how many protocols, how many like L2s, how many kind of ecosystem partners have we worked with who want to streamline that experience as well. And so, across kind of the fabric on the percentage of the block space in terms of partners, I think that's kind of institutional and retail. Yeah.
What statistics do you guys have to share so far?
Well, we've only been on testnet,
Yep.
and we've just hit mainnet.
Okay.
And so it's not too exciting from that standpoint, but we have to be careful with what we're doing as well.
Yeah.
And the reason is because there's been some upgrades to Ethereum on testnet, which have failed, and the validators are all kind of scared by it. So there's a big update called Pectra, and currently the validators are a little nervous around that.
Yeah.
So once that's done, it'll be smooth sailing to kind of like ramp up the traction on the institutional side as well as the retail.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I have this thing where I always ask the founders that I bring on, because they're all serial product builders, and you guys have strong visions. And so let's say, for example, towards the end of this year or next year, if I was to ask you, what does this future dream state of ETHGas looks like, right? Like in terms of how it's picked up traction, adoption, and where the entire ecosystem is at in a year's time. How would you describe that vision?
In a year's time?
Or in a few years' time, whatever timeline you want to frame it as.
I think it comes back to how much better have we made the experience. It's a bit broad, but again, how many more blocks are real time? Yeah. Right. And in connection with real time blocks, it's like, well, that's going to result in a lot more demand for the network itself. And so how do we quantify that? Right. So if maybe 20% of the blocks are real time and they're doing, like 5 times more transactions, well then, hey, we've just doubled the amount of like throughput or of demand for Ethereum. And that'd be incredible. Yeah.
You guys have a top-down approach, I see, with the institutional, or with the L2 traction side of that, right? You collect the L2s, you get them to adopt ETHGas, or like the wallets as well.
And various protocols.
Various protocols as well. I have a feeling that ETHGas is going to be one of those sustainable ecosystems that are going to be, revenue generating, profit generating.
Absolutely.
Through like traction, right?
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about like your thoughts around how you're trying to build a sustainable company and ecosystem with ETHGas, right? Because as we know in Web3, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors and
well, for sure,
unsustainable business models.
So it's blockchains can only become so efficient if they're going to hold themselves to be decentralized. Yeah. Right. You can't have. I mean, you can, but if a blockchain is going to maintain that decentralization, you need to be across different like cloud providers and data centers. You need to be spread out around the world. And because of that, latency will always be an issue. And so for us, it's like, well, we are naturally like an off-chain service. Yeah. And so, to that extent, we can always make the experience better, right? No matter what the latency is of the blockchain, even Solana, right? It's like 400 milliseconds. We can make that 3 milliseconds, right? So we can make Solana 100 times faster, right? So there's always this room where off-chain technology will always be faster and be able to provide a better experience than the decentralized, status quo for the blockchains. And because of that, basically, if we're always able to provide a better experience, you would never want to get a worse experience. And so we become like an essential part of the fabric for every blockchain. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there's going to be this inflection point where you guys do hit mainnet, you go live, and you have these protocols coming on, and it creates this network effect, right? Especially with retail users maybe demanding for their protocols to jump on board ETHGas to get rebates and better experience. And I think that you probably have designed this in such a way that with a strong thought of go-to-market in there, you're thinking, okay, actually the way that we roll this product out will create its own little product-led marketing engine, product-led growth engine too. So how do you think about product-led growth with ETHGas?
It's just start with the best user experience. Yeah. Right? Like let's remove gas fees. How do we do it? Right. And it all comes back to like these gas markets, right? So let's remove gas fees. How do you do it? Boom. Right. We're almost there. Yeah. Right. And then how do we make it real time? Again, that's the fabric of the blockchain itself. Like, boom, we're there. Right. And so again, once we create that experience, why would people want to take it away? Right. And so for that reason, what is that block space worth to a blockchain, right? It's maybe worth like half the value of a blockchain.
You guys add a lot of value to existing chains.
For sure, right? And so like if you just take Ethereum at 12 seconds and you make it real time gasless, like that's worth what? Like that's worth half of Ethereum potentially, right?
Yeah.
Like the entire Ethereum community is focused on L1 scaling, right? And we're right at the tip of the spear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What makes your tech and this entire concept defensible so that maybe a layer 2 itself cannot build it themselves and implement it themselves?
Well, it wouldn't be an L2, but it would probably be someone else maybe in and around our space.
Yeah.
But it's in our case, it's first to market. We're much further ahead than some other guys who are in the space. We also have a much kind of deeper tech and more robust product build. But it's not to say other people can't come into the space. The defensibility really just comes to a network effect. Yeah. Right. When we have the majority of the validators supporting us and the majority of the kind of the demand side and the user side supporting us, it's like, why would to take over us, you need to have like a 10 times better experience at that point, right? And if we have, half the market with us, you can't get more than half, in some sense. And so there's that network effect where at some point where like it just doesn't make sense for anyone else to kind of come in and compete. We have economies of scale.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's like that Facebook social network effect.
Or like an Amazon, right? Amazon, it's like, well, how do you take over them, right?
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And I think that at a certain point in time as well, if you do capture a lot of protocols and chains and layers, coming onto ETHGas and their users are very accustomed to the ETHGas experience that are being provided, and also go to your dashboard for the rebates, go to your dashboard for further like research details, analytics on block space or Gwei, that switch is going to be harder for them.
Absolutely. If you're coming to us every month to get your gas fees back, it just becomes part of your user behavior. Yeah. And then, eventually we can just make this happen automatically.
And that's why when I heard about the gas rebates idea, I thought that it was so smart.
It's a no-brainer, right? It's just like, it is expensive to sponsor it on the fly. Let's just batch it to us. Yeah.
And it creates its own little flywheel for ETHGas.
Absolutely,
a strong, ongoing, concurrent flywheel, right?
Yep.
Something that is its own marketing machine. You create user behavior and habit to come back every month. And that is something that is defensible if you guys go to market first, which you are, right? You're a market leader, and that's going to be a key ingredient to you go to market.
Yeah. Well, there's the protocols and the users, and the protocols know people want it from a high level. Yeah. But when they see tangibly their users asking for it, and we provide them the ability to execute on it, it's a win-win for the protocol, for the users, and for us.
Yeah. So let's talk about what's coming up in these quarters in 2025 for ETHGas as well. I think that we can break down what's been recently happening and then where you guys are at right now first.
Sure. So again, we've been on testnet for a while, but we've just hit mainnet on the exchange itself. Yeah. It's largely institutional. It's really API driven. On the gas rebate side, we have a number of very high quality projects we're working with to basically start to rebate gas. We'll be launching that pretty soon in the next months. Yeah. And alongside that, looking to work with other protocols who align with us on this vision and want to support us. And so I'd say over the next 6 months, we'll be really focused, at least on the retail side, with the gas rebate initiative. And as we get towards the end of the year, we'll be looking at token drops, TGEs, really just getting this out there and getting a bit of with the gas rebates, we'll give everyone a little bit of our token as well. So just getting a piece of us with everyone, with every set of users on the blockchain.
I love that. In terms of like key messages, is there anything else that you want to touch on that you feel like has been missed so far?
Not really. I'd say like, again, if as a user,
gas real-time MEV is done.
Yeah. Like if you want a real-time experience, like support us.
Kevin, I want to say thank you so much for coming onto the podcast today.
Thanks for having me.
And talking about ETHGas, breaking it down for the audience as well. Is there any call to actions that you want to provide for the audience, whether it be to support, to join the community, engage?
Yeah, I'd say just if you want a real-time experience, if you want to remove gas fees, follow us on Twitter, support us. We'll be engaging a lot more with the community and just stay in touch. We're doing this for the good of all users. And I think if the more we can align with our users and have them kind of be vocal ambassadors for us, I think the more it benefits everyone.
And for those protocols, infrastructure builders out there as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
What do you want them to do?
Absolutely. If you're, again, a protocol that wants to like invigorate or activate that community as well, let's chat. Because again, this is, we're completely revamping that user experience across all the chains. And so
how much effort do they need to put in for ETHGas to become an integrated
for a protocol? It's a couple button clicks.
Okay.
Yeah. It's basically just like, well, we need to kind of authenticate that they're attached to a certain protocol, both in person and technically. So we authenticate, and then basically like, well, which functions do you want to rebate and like how much? And then boom, that's it. Yeah. So pretty easy.
Okay. And for a wallet?
For a wallet, there's a little bit more work involved.
Yeah.
But we'll chat about wallets maybe another time.
Phantom, MetaMask. You got to come on board the ETHGas ASAP.
Yeah, there's a bit more of a complex negotiation, but at the end of the day, they want their users to be happy too.
Exactly.
So we have some big wallets who are just like, this is big. We want that experience, and so once we go live with that, the rest of them are going to follow suit very fast.
Yeah. And I think that also for the gas rebate program, if you are looking to provide rebates as well, I guess you would like to become maybe in the earlier cohorts of the rebates, because I think there's going to be a lot of benefit for those participants in the rebate program because of the hype, the user acquisition,
for sure. The protocols
loyalty.
And the users that join us earlier on will invariably benefit.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the alpha right there.
Yes.
I appreciate so much for you coming on board.
My pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of your time in Token 2049 Dubai. I understand you're leaving very soon. And we have a few launches to activate together shortly as well.
Absolutely.
So keep in tune for that.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.